Gerrymandering is a political term that refers to the redrawing of electoral districts, which gives one party a significant advantage over the other. This term came about from Governor Elbridge Gerry of Massachusetts. His administration put forth a new law in 1812 that established new states' senatorial districts. He did this to keep his party, the Republicans, in power. His redistricting allowed him to win 29 seats to the Republicans, even though his newly drawn district was incredibly questionable in shape.
Whoa, hey there. You snuck up on me. My name's Jerry. Gerrymandering. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I don't really get what the big deal is. Gerrymandering doesn't really happen.
The myth that gerrymandering doesn't really happen really only exists due to the clear fact that it is a very controversial topic, and the majority of Americans don't want to believe that their own party of choice, whether that is Republican or Democratic, would redraw state districts to have political gain over their opponent. Republicans tend to make up the majority of the believers of this myth, as there is more news surrounding the Republican Party using the tactics of gerrymandering to have control. However, it is important to note that both parties have done it, even though the Republican Party has done it way more often, as we will discuss this later in the video. But of course, when taking into account the worldview backfire effect, it makes sense that, for example, someone might believe in the myth that gerrymandering doesn't exist because they may be fixed in their own views that neither political party would be able to have a political advantage over the other through redistricting, or that they really aren't redistricting in an unfair way. These same people will often only seek out information that supports their own views, and in turn they will not find any unbiased sources that explain the truth, that gerrymandering is really happening. Gerrymandering is made up of two important tactics known as cracking and packing. Cracking refers to the spreading of a particular type of voter among many districts in order to keep them from having a large voting bloc. And packing refers to concentrating as many voters of one type into a single electoral district to reduce their influence in other districts. When it comes to the gerrymandering of Florida's 5th Congressional District in 2012, the 5th Congressional District snaked down the peninsula from Jacksonville to Gainesville to Orlando, scooping up as many Black Democratic voters as it could to contain them in one heavily Democratic district so that every surrounding district would lean Republican. This is an example of packing. The end result was a seat that voted 71 to 28 for Obama, while Romney won all 6 of its neighbors.
This is a picture of Florida's 5th Congressional District. As you can see, there is clear evidence of gerrymandering happening. Now I'm in Florida, here to see how the Republicans have crammed as many Democrats into one district as possible. This is how packed the Democratic district in Florida is.
Open up the champagne, pop. It's my house, come on, turn it.
Well, even if it does happen, it doesn't have that big an impact on elections.
Gerrymandering actually does have a large impact. The Republican State Leadership Committee has a multi-year plan to redistrict in favor of Republicans. This is a $30 million strategy that ended in the Democrats having 1.4 million more votes for House of Representatives, but the Republicans won 234 to 201. Gerrymandering is not a hard process to complete, and thus it is employed often by both parties. The 2012 elections made this an apparent issue, as in 7 states where Republicans redrew districts, Republicans had 16.7 million votes, while Democrats had 16.4 million. It makes sense to expect that there would be a fairly even split of elected people from both sides, but instead, 73 Republicans were elected to the Democrats' 34. In North Carolina specifically, 51% of votes were cast for Democrats, but only 4 out of the 13 seats were won. Justice Anthony Kennedy said that the rapid development of technology to analyze districts and how they can be used to favor a certain party has been employed. This makes it easier than ever to swing an election to favor one side. It doesn't matter how many people you have voting for you, as long as you are able to make those that vote for you more important than those that don't. In Gill versus Whitford, 2018, Wisconsin was challenged for the practices that allowed for Republican control. It made many voters wasted instead of having the correct representation for the state. The ruling was 9-0, however, as the plaintiffs were lacking the standing to sue, which meant that they were not the correct party to be suing for this issue. There are many cases of gerrymandering having a massive negative effect on our elections, and it needs to be stopped. Here is a graph that shows how gerrymandering has affected our elections. As you can see, the Democratic vote is very high, but the Republicans still win many of the seats, going up to 8 seats won while still losing the popular vote. In the 2012 election, Democratic candidates received 1.4 million more votes than their Republican counterparts, and yet they won 33 fewer seats.
Well, GOP dominance is really only to do with geography, and not gerrymandering.
In Wisconsin, scholars found that there was a less than 1 in 1,000 chance that congressional districts were made up of geography and without any political influence.
Well, gerrymandering is not actually illegal.
Here, the misconception is that gerrymandering is legal. Gerrymandering violates the Equal Protection Clause, which was shown during the U.S. Supreme Court case of Baker versus Carr of 1962, where the Supreme Court decided the state legislature of Tennessee had failed to redraw district lines to give all votes equal value.